We have Simon Danczuk with us, former Labour MP, now member of Reform UK. This was a distressing story, which distressing and gobsmacking in equal measure, I suppose, Simon. The Palestinian migrant Abu Wadi, who filmed himself arriving in Britain on a migrant boat, posted it online. This is a guy that had called for the slaughter of all Jews. I don't know what happens here when we know who this person is. One would assume someone knows where he was sent to on arriving. This story may have developed and I've missed it, but surely somebody like this should have been arrested immediately and thrown into jail.
Yeah, you would have hoped so, wouldn't you? You've got this guy coming into the United Kingdom, and it's the UK border force that, instead of stopping him coming in, which you would have hoped the UK border force would do, they brought him into the country. So they put him on one of the boats and brought him and some other people into the country, what we see regularly now with illegal immigrants. And the biggest concern here is that, by all accounts, the allegations against him are that he's an Islamic extremist. I mean, he's very pro-Hamas, supporting the terrorists out there in the Middle East, very anti-Semitic. And yet we've brought him into the country. And I understand from latest reports, he's been put up into a hotel. Now, it's now being said the Home Office have subsequently arrested him.
Yeah, we're now hearing he was arrested last night by immigration enforcement for entry without leave.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we need to know how quickly he's going to be got rid of. Yeah. And the important point here, actually, Ian, is that the only reason we know about his views is because he's a prolific user of social media. So he's been posting on TikTok and other social media platforms. So we know how extreme he is. Now, I believe that we're allowing people into this country in a very similar way who don't share their views about extremism and the Middle East and so on and so forth. And yet we are facilitating them coming into this country. And that's where the problem lies. We're importing people into this country who actually stand completely against our values, and this is a perfect example of it.
Yeah, and an example of what Rupert Lowe has been very animated about, and felt that on that point there was a divide between his rather passionate opinions and that of the party as a whole. But we will come back to all of that. Let's look at what's happening in two stories out of North America, one from North America itself, one from Canada. Donald Trump claiming Ukraine may not survive as pressure mounts on Zelensky to cede territory occupied by Russia. This is in exchange for renewed US support. Let's have a listen to what the American president had to say.
Are you comfortable with that? The fact that you walked away and Ukraine may not survive?
Well, it may not survive anyway, but, you know, we have some weaknesses with Russia. You know, it takes two. Look, it was not going to happen, that war, and it happened. So now we're stuck with this mess. Think of what he stuck me with.
So there it is. Ukraine may not survive. And that's a big statement from the president, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite a scary situation, really. I mean, I think he's saying that because Russia have had some success in attacking Ukraine in recent days. But this is part of Donald Trump's negotiating style, isn't it? This is about getting Zelensky round the table to bring peace. But it's also about trying to get a minerals deal with Ukraine. And Donald Trump's style of doing business is very different to what he was like last time. He's much more forthright, knowing that this is the only time he'll be president ever again. I am surprised that we've been shocked by Donald Trump's approach to this whole issue. It's as though we and other European countries have been taken by surprise from Donald Trump's approach. The reality is, you know, we've known how he approaches these issues. We should have anticipated it better. And what Europe and Britain should have been doing is building up defences much more heavily, much more strongly. Keir Starmer is trying to portray himself as this, Prime Minister who's very supportive of the military. The truth is, he's being dragged screaming and kicking to spend 2.5% on the military in the last few weeks. Yeah. That's the reality of it.
And let's move to this story as well. Canada has a new Prime Minister. His name is Justin Trudeau, but this time he's using the name Mark Carney, because I don't see very much is likely to change. But Mr Carney, former Governor of the Bank of England, faces significant challenges, it is said, as he steps into office. Former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau expressed his love for Canada over the weekend, showing that Carney may have a lot of work cut out for him. Let's have a listen.
On a personal level, I've made sure that every single day in this office, I put Canadians first, that I have people's backs. And that's why I'm here to tell you all that we got you. Even in the very last days of this government, we will not let Canadians down today and long into the future.
Unless you're a trucker during a flu pandemic, of course, then things look a little different, Simon. But there he is. That's the outgoing. He's gone. Mr Carney is in. He's not going to be there for very long, of course, because they've got to have an election before October. So this could be a little more than Liz Truss's time in office, but not by much.
Yeah, it's interesting times, isn't it? And I think it relates back to the previous discussion around Donald Trump. Yeah. I think Mark Carney was assisted by Trump's suggestions that he would like, well, to put it bluntly, he would like to take over parts of Canada. And I think that helped Mark Carney really electorally rally against that and say that he would stand up to Trump. So, I mean, Trump's impact on the world can't be underestimated. It's affecting Canada. We know it's affecting Russia and Ukraine. I mean, it's all change internationally. And, you know, the old institutions that we followed, the United Nations, NATO, everything else, are really breaking down. Politics are being done differently in nearly every major country across the world. And Canada's another example of it. Indeed.
Simon, we hit the clock. Thank you, as ever, Simon Danczuk, his former Labour MP. I don't think we have to keep calling him former Labour MP. Maybe there's another few weeks in that. I don't know. He's now a Reform UK member, perhaps hoping for selection. I don't know. We'll talk to him another time on that, to become a candidate, but very passionate about what is happening in Reform. Many of you getting in touch. Loads of calls to come through. David says, I have for a while thought that Nigel Farage sees himself as the only man possible to defeat Labour, but he's showing the same fragile ego of a Trump that doesn't work in the UK. Reform have lost two best hopes for the future, Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe.